Lindsey, what's in your lens today?
We are talking about California Governor Gavin Newsom. He made a pretty major announcement yesterday, taking his latest stance to fight back against Republicans' mid-decade redistricting plan in Texas and beyond. Now, this move comes as Republicans in Texas, with President Donald Trump's backing, are pursuing a new congressional map that could give them as many as 5 more House seats. And Newsom's response, well, he's leaning into some signature California swag.
Today is Liberation Day in the state of California, and as Senator Schiff said, Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back.
Poked the bear. He's calling it the, quote, Election Rigging Response Act, a proposal that would let California Democrats bypass the state's independent redistricting commission and redraw the maps to more favorable position to their own party. Newsom says it's a direct response to Republican moves. Now, here's my take. I am not a fan of gerrymandering from either side. It's anti-democratic, plain and simple. If both red states and blue states start stealing congressional seats through partisan map making, we all end up losing. So in an ideal world, Texas would wait until the next census and adopt an independent redistricting committee like California, and California would resist the temptation to fight fire with fire, because in this case, the fire is actually a direct hit to one of democracy's core values, voting equality. And if you burn that down, you're doing the work of democracy's enemies for them. So when political parties start disenfranchising voters to push their policies without actually earning our votes, the only winners are people rich enough to actually buy those politicians' loyalty. But while I think Newsom's redistricting plan is wrong, I have to admit, the man is on a roll. He's trolling Trump like it's his new hobby, even calling him Donald Taco Trump in all caps on X. The nickname caught fire a few months ago, with Jeanine Pirro even chuckling on air like I was laughing when a reporter brought it up to the former president. Let's take a look.
Mr. President, Wall Street analysts have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation, but don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question.
So I guess I'm not the only one who thinks it's funny. At the end of the day, my hope is simple. Republicans stick with the current Texas maps, Democrats back off the retaliation, and Governor Newsom keeps going just enough to keep us all entertained, because clearly he's found his spotlight. Quite entertaining over here. The all caps messages. I think what Governor Newsom is doing is very effective in getting under Trump's skin in a way that maybe he wasn't prepared for, because he met his match and slowly he's building up. Obviously, we know the intention is a presidential campaign in 2028, but at the end of the day, he's just fighting fire with fire and actually having a backbone. Some people don't like Jasmine Crockett. Some people don't like, whoever else is speaking up. Well, Newsom is another voice that's doing something.
Democrats don't like Jasmine Crockett either.
No, I think a lot of people do like Jasmine Crockett.
Her colleagues in the House don't seem to like her very much.
Well, I think a lot of her constituents, she has voted in position, so I think she's comfortable, So I think she has a lot of people that like her.
Unlike Jasmine Crockett, I do think Gavin Newsom has some things going for him. I'm happy to admit that. I like to just call it as I see it. I noted that there was figures on podcasts that political people are doing. Steve Bannon has this really successful podcast. Ted Cruz has a really successful podcast. And then after that, there's not a lot of politicians who've managed to pull this off, have good podcast numbers. Gavin Newsom has done it. He launched this a couple months ago or a year ago. He's had some interesting guests. He's clearly trying to introduce himself to right-of-center people. And they're not going to agree with him, but he'll be like someone they go, oh, yeah, he's fine. I like listening to him. I don't agree with him. It's going to soften the way he presents to Republicans in anticipation of a presidential run. I think he will have. I think he is one of the more formidable candidates Democrats could have. I say that as someone who completely disagrees with his governance, particularly during COVID, which I thought was appalling and disqualifying. I appreciate he has to deal with a very far left legislature that's even more progressive than he is. So he looks a little bit saner than some of them to me, but
Also, I think what makes him look very sane in this, even though I don't support redistricting coming from either side, is the fact that he actually said on November 4th, we're going to ask the people of California what they would like to do. That's something that actually works much better to me than Texas leaders saying, we're not going to ask you, we're just doing this in the middle of a census, 5 years in. And I think that that is something that people, maybe like you said, that not only the Democrats, American people want to be listened to way more. And so in Texas, nobody called for this. And even when we talk about how the population of people of color have grown in Texas, being the most growth that we've seen over the last few years, it's not about whether those people vote left or right. It's about the fact that they're not represented in the census numbers. And so districts aren't created in a way that the way it's supposed to, is just making sure everyone has a voice. And so I want to make sure that as we rectify that, the census process could be fixed. All this can be fixed. We should not be redistricting our way out of it, but Democrats should also not sit back and just watch this all happen. So hopefully it's like matching a threat with a threat and then just like, okay, let's just call it even. Let's just go back and create a new system. And I even think Texas should possibly adopt an independent delegation to review what and how the map should look. I was looking online at a map, and I can't remember, I think it was done by Brown University, that kind of showed how biased the redistricting was in each state. And Texas is already out of control with how many how it's redistricted.
So is,
no, I know, and they show. I'm using Texas as an example because we're here, but they don't have to go even further out of whack, is what I'm saying. There's no one calling for this. It's not necessary. So I think they need to just figure out what actually exists there and figure out a proper way forward, as opposed to just trying to win more House seats because they think that their policies can't win them more House
California is already taking advantage of the system by having so many illegal immigrants that inflate the population of the state and get it more electoral college votes and more House representation than it would have otherwise. But that's
it's an
why
imperfect
we're
system.
doing mass deportation now.
It's an imperfect system, but you know what? You know what's so funny? We
creates
just watched that clip about Joe Rogan when he had Anna Paulina on. You know what else he talked to Anna Paulina about? About how disappointed he was about the immigration policy, because he felt that Trump was going to deport and make it a priority and intentionally deport criminals. But what happened is that a lot of people that were working on land and around the community are no longer available. And he thinks this is not what anybody who said, yes, I support deportation, wanted coming out of this administration. And so, again, one of those other times where even your boy Rogan is criticizing how the policy played out in regards to immigration.
Well, I agree.
Though it was a winning idea, but actually the implementation, people are looking up with a raised eyebrow about how and what is actually happening.
I agree with Joe Rogan. However, what I'm saying is there's a justification for deportations when those people are going to be fundamentally changing our democracy and giving more weight to liberals and to Democrats. There's more of a justification to deport them. I don't want to deport them, so for political reasons. Yes, I agree with Rogan and with Trump that we should prioritize the deportation of criminals and gang members and so on, not just round up people who aren't bothering anyone else who are working. But if they're taking welfare, if they're taking advantage of the social safety net, if they're disproportionately taking resources, crowding out other people from using those resources, or corrupting the political composition of the state, that creates a justification for doing the kinds of things that, for instance, Steve Miller want to do.
And we have a lot of work to do, I think, for all systems that have existed for longer than our lifetimes, right? Some of them don't actually work in 2025. But I do think that it's important to look at the census and understand what it is. It's supposed to count every single living soul in the United States so we understand.
All right, but you're not.
And so that's what it's supposed to do.
Okay,
yeah, that's
yes,
what it's supposed to do.
But we're not supposed to have.
No, but they need that
12
information.
million
So yes,
illegal people here.
but even though yes, they could check off that they are a migrant, and that could be a thing. But President Trump lost that.
Here, but everyone here is supposed to be
But
legal.
President Trump lost that when he brought it up to the Supreme Court. They said no, we're not putting a checkbox on there that says I'm an illegal immigrant. So now what do you want to do?
So we're going to deport
them all. So here we are.
What we're going to do is deport them all.
Okay,
so
and your party doesn't like that. Joe Rogan doesn't like that. They don't want to see every single person get deported. They specifically said criminals, and I think most of America agrees with that. So at the same time, your party is going to be affected because people like Trump own businesses that use and have used illegal immigrants. And so,
well, then you got to meet us halfway here and come up with some plan that I would be happy to endorse, where they can stay here and work and not, and we won't mess with the economy, getting them all out of here. That's all fine, but have some kind of check so that the political process is not distorted in favor of the Democratic Party. That's my deal. That's my offer.
I don't know that it is distorted in favor of Democrats right now, but we got to go.
Good news for teetotalers. You're in company, a good company, I presume. Drinking rates are actually at a record low because the kids aren't drinking anymore. Stay with us.